Hey everyone, well, there you go. Sometimes, luck goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. For those of you that didn't know, we had the game tied. We actually fell behind 17 to nothing with 5 minutes to go in the first half or whatever it was, and we actually mounted a comeback, made it 2020, and we were driving for that game-winning field goal, and then there was this botched handoff where there was just confusion between Matt and Sean. Somebody got in there and forced a fumble, and there you go. Arizona recovers, drives down, kicks a field goal. And, it's frustrating, to see a game that you definitely feel you should have won just slip through your fingers. I've seen it happen before. I've seen it happen the other way. We've won a couple games because of luck. Um, but it's just hard to stomach something like that because at that point in the game, all we really needed to do was run the ball up the middle for no gain, maybe a couple yards. Doesn't really matter, and we probably win that game. So rough to watch, rough to stomach. But I'm looking to move on. There were some positives in this game. Dion Branch played really, 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 really well. He had that one drop that was kind of crucial earlier in the game, but otherwise he played brilliantly. The receivers as a whole, I think, are looking pretty good. You got Burleson and Hackett. No, not Hackett, actually. He's hurt. Bobby Engram. Um, Matt's still having a solid season. Still no turnovers from him. Offensive line turned it up in the second half, and they still have only allowed like 3 sacks all season compared to 8 after 2 games last year. Sean turned it on in the second half. I was happy with how he bounced back after a terrible first half. And, I'd like to put the blame of this game on one play, but that wouldn't be fair. You saw how we played in the first half. I mean, we fell behind 17 to nothing. And this is something that this team does a lot. We start off real slow and always turn it on right before the start of the first half. I mean, right before the end of the first half. So that's something we got to fix. Because if we start off so much as decently, we probably win that game. So I mean, I'm not happy at Matt for what happened on that play right at the end because he's smarter than that. When that play went south, he should have just tucked it, took the sack, or started running with it or whatever. But just standing there waiting for the ball to get stripped, that's not okay. Obviously, our defense was weak in the first half, but it did make a nice comeback in the second half. I was disappointed with how we let them drive down at the end, even after the turnover, but our defense did clamp down at the end. Only 1 sack that was kind of a lucky break on our part because Liner just fell down. But Kearney did pick it up, so that's 2.5 sacks in 2 games. Lofa Tatupu now has 3 turnovers forced in 2 games, as many as he had all of last season, and 20 tackles. So there you go. You know, Still some positives to be taken out of the game. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't disappointed. But next week we got Cincinnati at home. We can take them, man. I'll get into some keys in the game later. Keys to the game later this week. But I mean, look what Cleveland did to them. I mean, we can exploit that defense. We probably can't stop their offense. So good old-fashioned shootout. We'll see how things go. I'm going to spin around the league real quick. I'm not going to spend as much time looking around as I did last week. Okay, let's see. Pittsburgh beats Buffalo. Pittsburgh continues to dominate defensively and doing a pretty good job offensively. No real superstar in this game, though Parker did have a nice game. Jacksonville beats Atlanta. Kind of a slow start. I'm wondering if Jacksonville is starting to miss Byron Leftwich. I still don't agree with that cut. But Garrard threw that nice touchdown to Reggie Williams that ended up making the difference. And Joey Harrington, he didn't play terrible today. He actually did a decent job, but he's been sacked 13 times in 2 games. Some of that's on the offensive line, but some of that is on him. Got to get that figured out. And I give my hats off to Warrick Dunn. He played pretty well against a tough run defense, but I still think Jarius Norwood needs more carries. And how about Roddy White? actually kind of looking pretty sharp out there. The Colts beat the Titans in a close game that I got to watch. Really, the highlight of what was otherwise a pretty poor weekend for me. I went 8-8 on picks. Both my teams lost, the Huskies and the Hawks. So there you go. But the Colts did manage to win, still hanging with them for my Super Bowl pick. Manning did not quite look like himself. That one interception, I don't think that was his fault. Wayne just kind of got pushed and fell down. But he wasn't quite himself. The Colts really weren't themselves. They missed a couple kicks. They threw a couple of stupid they had a couple of turnovers that were kind of stupid. The Titans played well. The Titans played well. Excuse me, I just woke up. But they had a couple of drops at the end that would have cost them the chance to win the game. Let's see. Adai kind of struggling, but I think he's going to be all right. Packers beat the Giants. Favre becomes the winningest quarterback in NFL history with 149 wins. So congratulations, Brett. I think you're going to reach about 155. So keep on going. He had a great day. 3 touchdowns, a pick. Friend that Giants secondary after what was a weak showing last week all around by the offense against Philadelphia. And that defense continues to shine, I've been supporting them for a little while now with Nick Barnett and A.J. Hawk, Charles Woodson, Al Harris, KGB, Aaron Campman, Cullen Jenkins. They got a hell of a defense. And it's only given up 13 points in both games to some pretty decent offenses, I think. And now Eli Manning looks like he's hurt again, and so is Jared Lorenzen. So it comes down to Anthony Wright, a guy that actually has some playing experience, so that could be better for the Giants than J-Load. I still believe it's going to be a long season for the Giants. I'm not quite ready to buy into the Packers yet as a whole. I need more consistency out of that running game. But hey, looking solid so far. Next week's going to be the real test against San Diego. The Texans beat the Panthers. Houston's looking like, if you pick them as your sleeper pick, good job, because they're doing real good so far. Schaub has, completely annihilated any expectations I had for him. I really didn't think anything of him before the season started, but he's done a hell of a job so far. So has Andre Johnson. He is hurt, doubtful for the game next week, which is a huge blow to them. But they have just formed a connection that is just really good so far. Andre Johnson playing well. That defense doing a good job. You saw one of my marquee players of the day was Amobi Okoye, the defensive tackle. He had, 2 sacks and a forced fumble. So good job by him. And what's wrong with this Carolina defense? I know they lost some players, but I trusted them to be able to play decently. And there was just nothing doing today. 2 days ago. Steve Smith is still a centaur among men, though. So, there you go. 49ers beat the Rams, pushing the Rams to 2-0. The Rams offense continues to struggle. There's no Orlando pace, and you can really see them suffering from that. Jackson can't get on track. Bulger, he's not being very productive. He had a lot of yards, but just the 1 touchdown and only produced 16 points. Missed that 56-yard field goal right at the end that could have won the game, so tough blow for the Rams. They got Tampa Bay next week, which I'll get more into Tampa Bay. And the 0-3 Rams would be really weird, I gotta say. Here's a crazy game of the week. Bengals-Browns, 51-45 since Cleveland, with Derek Anderson stealing the show. Palmer and Anderson, 2 of the marquee players of the game. This game was full of them, though. You had Chad Johnson, T.J. Houshmandzadeh, Jamal Lewis, Kellen Winslow, Braylon Edwards, Joe Jaravicious. And really insane game that produced so many points. Really fun to watch. There's something wrong with that Bengals defense. We've all heard the praises from Marvin Lewis as a defensive genius. He's got to start showing something, because defensive geniuses don't give up 51 points to the same team that scored 7 the previous week. I give credit to the Browns. Anderson played well, and that offense is doing what I expected it to. but come on, Marvin Lewis.